Of course, he has Mox Diamond, access to that, access to Green Sun Zenith,
Yep.
Punishing Fire.
Yep.
But it's same idea.
It seems kind of fair, though.
It is a little fair for Legacy, and he doesn't have that much discard.
No, he's got Inquisitions and Inquisitions.
Yeah. Oh, Matt's going to 6. Or Matt went to 6.
And Nathan
Zamora.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
boy.
That was the greediest.
Two Mox Diamonds runs a Confidant into a Force of Will.
So he now has 2 cards in hand.
Yeah.
Matthew. Wow.
Wow, 2 cards in hand. So even though Matthew's at 6, those Mox Diamonds really are costing Nathan Zamora a lot. I don't know if you run both those out or you just play one and like maybe Wasteland.
Well, it's hard to say without seeing Nathan Zamora's hand.
That's
but
true.
That does seem incredibly greedy. Like,
it does seem pretty greedy.
Chances are Nathan doesn't know what Matthew's playing. But against a blind opponent, with Force of Will being such a big factor.
Yep. And that explains it. He has a Life from the Loam that Wasteland is going to blow up that volcanic island.
Ouch.
And Matthew Duggan does not have, again, not many lands in his deck. Only basics are 2 islands.
So he's got the Ancestral Vision suspended. The question is, can he maximize on that by the time, like, it would be great to pop that into Quirion Dryad.
Well, I mean, the big question is, can he ever draw enough lands to actually do anything? And a Seismic Assault?
Oof.
I don't like to call things early, but I think that this game is already done.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look good for Matthew.
Matthew has no Tarmogoyf, so it can never even get big enough to survive Seismic Assault. Quirion Dryad and Snapcatcher both start off as 1 toughness, so they're both going to die.
Yep.
He actually has to Lightning Bolt him out before that Seismic Assault does its work. And considering he's got a Cycle land too.
Yeah, this is
almost over before it began. I mean, this is going to be real rough for Matthew. I shouldn't say it's out. He can straight up burn Nathan Zamora out. He has 4 Lightning Bolts, 2 Chain Lightnings. So, he can do a lot of damage, and he has those Snapcasters to help that out.
But this just looks bad.
This does look bad.
I mean, okay,
another Spell Snare.
He's getting a lot of mileage out of those, and that's awesome.
Yep, he's doing what he can to keep Nathan Zamora off of Life from the Loam.
Okay, so Matthew Duggan's going to pop the Visions here.
Draw a lot of cards. Now, if he can get out, say, a Quirion Dryad maybe, and keep stopping that Life from the Loam, he might be able to get that thing alive. And if he can get it just a little bit bigger, maybe he can survive that Life from the Loam and all those lands. So we have a 3rd Spell Snare.
That would be insane.
Doesn't look like we do.
Looks like not.
Yep, Wasteland. I imagine 1 Cycle land is going to be in that pile as well.
You would maybe or not.
Just goes for a red green land.
All right, so we have Nathan Zamora. He has a bunch of lands in the grip. So he's going to drop the Wasteland, which, I mean...
He doesn't necessarily really need to do a whole lot against Matthew Duggan. Probably end of turn he's going to blow up something. It looks like, yep, Tropical.
Sure, reasonable.
He's just going to sit around until he has enough damage to really start doing a lot of damage to Matthew. Otherwise, he's just holding those back to keep Tarmogoyf off the table. Yep. Not knowing, of course, that Matthew's not playing Tarmogoyf.
Which would have been good to know. So we see Ponder for Matthew Duggan. Now, if you're so you could get a Delver, but that's going to get assaulted. You could get a Quirion Dryad, that's going to get assaulted.
Your best chance is to build up some lands and hope that Nathan doesn't have enough lands in play to actually just kill your Quirion Dryad.
Right.
There's not much else at this point in the game you can really do. Everything else just dies and gets one shot by the Seismic Assault.
The Loam engine just seems to be such a... It almost feels like a soft lock with Assault against Matthew's deck.
Against this deck, yeah. Game 1. Now, Game 2, he will have Tormod Scripts to bring in. So he does have ways to fight it.
Sure, he has 3 of those.
Game 1, it is going to be a very rough thing.
Yes.
And, of course, he is using the new Don't Daze Me Bro sleeve.
Those are thanks to Ryan O'Connor back home in Roanoke, Virginia. Hi, Ryan. Hope you're having a good weekend. So Matthew Duggan suspends another Ancestral Visions.
Just keep playing those lands.
Seems fine. I mean, I like drawing cards.
Not surprising. He's going to dredge one more Life and Loam.
That was a
doesn't
very
really hit
expensive
anything.
dredge.
Yep, but he's just looking for lands anyway. He's just gonna probably just keep playing lands out until he can start doing it twice per turn, building up enough cards in hand so he can start doing some actual damage.
Indeed.
I don't know if you're him, if you're Nathan Zamora, if you really worry too much about blowing up all of your opponent's lands, but I guess it doesn't really hurt. Nothing really your opponent can do against it. You're just going to just keep blowing up his non-basics, and you're on no clock whatsoever. You know that he's got to be playing some sort of aggressive deck. I think.
Sure.
I don't know what else we play in Ancestral Visions.
It just seems like the wrong line of play to be concerned with your opponent's mana base at this point. I mean, what does he really hope to accomplish by wastelanding that he's not going to better accomplish by just rebuying Life and Loam, rebuilding his mana base so he can start doing it a bunch? I mean,
maybe he's just thinking, well, and now he can't really wasteland these fetch lands, but maybe he's just thinking, I don't know exactly what my opponent's deck is doing, so I'm just going to play it really conservatively. Make sure that I get enough cards,
Sure.
No reason to rush it out. No reason to try and do something. And if my opponent has some crazy card in his deck, it'll be a real problem. But he is, every turn he's basically just drawing 3 cards a turn.
So we have Nathan Zamora, Life from the Loaming, like it's all he knows how to do.
And it may be, for all we know.
I mean, it's a pretty good thing to specialize in.
Matthew Duggan goes down to 17 after 1 activation of Life or Seismic Assault.
And Matthew Duggan fairly soon is going to draw what I would lovingly refer to as a metric buttload of cards.
Yep.
That's 3 Ancestral Visions over the course of the game.
Someone corrected us. It is Ancestral Vision. It is one singular vision, not multiple visions.
Well, in this game,
now it is actually Ancestral Vision.
In this game, it is multiples. So neener. Another Wasteland.
Yeah. He played a Wasteland last turn, and
no lands for you.
He has no desire to let Matthew Duggan ever get multiple mana of off color, and that's probably for the best. The only way I saw Matthew Duggan win this game was really using all of his burn toward Nathan Zamora's face and snapcastering most of it back. But if he can't keep red up, which he has no basic mountains, then he can't do that.
It's going to be really tough for Matthew Duggan to dig his way out of this. I'm still not entirely convinced that Wasteland Recursion was the right line, but one of these players is on the feature match at the SCGDAL Legacy Open, and one of us is hanging out with Stod, so I win.
And let's just be honest. Like, there are times when there's multiple lines of play, and it's like neither of these has any chance of actually losing.
Sure.
And I'm trying to get his 3 Volcanics. I think he has 2 Volcanics in his graveyard. I don't know. Really, it just, you can say, well, which line is correct, which line is incorrect. Well, they both are going to win 100% of the time, or 99.9% of the time. So,
fair. I mean,
we could argue which one is better, but maybe as a player, sometimes you can't focus on that too much, and just focus on getting this match over with, or getting this game over with, and making sure you don't do anything too egregious, like draw 2 cards. Mull, or mill too many cards with Life in the Loam.
Right.
No reason to go crazy.
And it does bear noting, Matthew Duggan does only have, it looks like, 3 actual red-producing lands in his main deck.
Yeah.
So it's not going to take too much for Nathan Zamora to just completely cut him off. Bolts, Chain Lightnings.
And I think there might be some question now about Life in the Loam resolving. Something's happening.
So it seems like there's some discussion going on at the table.
Yeah, the table judge looks like he's trying to fix something or clarify whether something happened. I don't know.
We'll see if we can figure that out for you real quick. It does. I mean, so Matthew Duggan has the Delver, which seems fine, but
it looks like he's saying someone's saying it looks like he forgot to discard,
which is awkward.
Yeah.
It's not
8 cards in hand.
Not a life-ending issue.
And I was just saying, all he has to do really is focus on doing something that doesn't cost him the match, and I don't think it's going to cost him the match.
Do not misclick Nathan Zamora.
But that's Matthew Duggan's other out is Nathan Zamora doing something illegal.
Yep.
And that's something illegal.
Yep. And it has been confirmed, folks. We did miss a discard. It'll be just a minute while we get that sorted out. Players just figuring out how to resolve that. Now, if I recall correctly, the correct resolution here is just to have Nathan Zamora discard something.
Yeah, right.
But it seems as though there's some deliberation going on there.
Right, I can see that.
Which maybe there's an appeal, but... So the feature match judge has left the table. Looks like we're probably going to have an appeal to Kevin Binswanger, the head judge. Not quite sure what the basis for an appeal, from a judging standpoint, I'm not sure quite what the basis for appeal is here. I mean, players obviously do have the right to appeal if they feel the ruling they've been given is incorrect. That's completely legitimate. Actually, as a judge, I wish more players would appeal.
Yeah.
Every tournament, there's a player who will say, this was the situation, this was the ruling, and I don't think it was right.
And judges are human, and sometimes they mix up a fact in their head, or something just doesn't click, and they say something that they give you the wrong penalty out. They either too high or too low.
Yep.
And if you think that it's wrong, if you say I don't understand it, I flipped the card with Delver, and then I drew it or something weird happened, and I got a game loss, and I thought it was really just looking at extra cards. Well, like you flipped 2 cards with Delver, and they game lost you. Well, appeal that.
Yeah, we don't take it personal, we promise. But it looks like we're back in action. Matthew Duggan cracking some fetch lands.
Yeah, it looks like Nathan had to discard cards as opposed to just throwing that at his opponent's face. Which there is a life from loam sort of sitting in play, and I'm not sure why that's there.
Life from the Loam is awfully good.
It is good.
Does it tap for mana now?
It does not. It's not an enchantment either. I don't know if he's kind of semi-shortcutting it by putting it in his not in his top of his graveyard, but I don't know. Maybe
entirely possible.
Maybe that should be on top of his graveyard.
So we have Snapcaster Rebound. Oh, it was being cast.
Oh, I see. That makes more sense.
Definitely being cast. All right.
And it looks like there's a bunch of damage coming at Matthew Duggan's face.
Ouch.
And apparently that's lethal. Yep.
Wow.
So.
That was a really aggressive game, or at least a really aggressive opening from Nathan Zamora.
It was. I
mean, turn 1 Dark Confidant and go down to 2 cards in hand, and then still pull it out.
Yeah. Well, if and we're gonna see this in the next game. If Nathan can resolve a Seismic Assault, it is going to be really, really hard for Matthew Duggan to win.
And so for this particular match, Matthew Duggan snap sideboards in the 3 Tormod's Crypt.
Yeah, those are needed.
That's a guarantee.
He cannot let Nathan Zamora just have free reign to the graveyard. There's no way he can ever win then.
Spell Snare actually did a lot of work for Matthew early in the game. It kept Nathan off of Loam
several turns in a row,
multiple times, which is obviously what he wants to be doing. But let's take a look at Nathan Zamora's sideboard. What
Nathan Zamora
Chalice?
I don't think Chalice is that great. You can Chalice for 1, and it does stop stops Delver. And maybe Chalice for 1's pretty good.
Ponder, Lightning Bolt, Brainstorm, Spell Pierce, or Spell Snare.
Okay, Chalicing for 1 is actually amazing.
Gitaxian Probe, it also shuts off?
Yeah, it shuts off about 60% of Matthew Duggan's deck.
So
that's a lot.
Chalice is definitely going to happen.
Chalice should probably happen. And anything else,
No.
Pyroblast he can bring in. Pyroblast is probably good.
Sure.
Maybe he can bring out a few spells. Maybe he doesn't need those Diabolic Edicts.
Probably not.
I mean, you leave in Punishing Fire. That's
Punishing Fire
one more way.
Deck.
Yeah, this deck is just not very well set up to deal with the aggro loam whatsoever.
This is going to be rough for Matthew Duggan. Rough. I mean, Matthew played that game well. I mean, he was
as well as
he was
could.
In that game a lot longer than I think either you or I would have. Definitely more than I thought he would be.
I mean, I would have scooped it up much earlier because I've been like, I've got no actual way to win this.
But, this just looks like a very unfavorable matchup.
Pretty nightmarish. I think that Nathan can take out the Maelstrom Pulses. Those do not seem particularly good. Everything else, I would try to figure out what I've put for the 4 cards for 2 Pyroblasts and 2 Chalice the Voids, but I think you're really well set up besides that.
Yeah, I mean, Scavenging, Yeah, Scavenging Ooze maybe comes in. Oh, no, although, no, that shuts off Snapcaster.
Yeah, it's just a Snapcaster. It
Which
just
is very
clears out his
high value.
graveyard. It's just another,
Also
another
happens
threat.
to beat.
Yeah, another threat.
Seems fine.
You know, this seems like, you know, what could be just a nightmare matchup for Matthew Duggan.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Matthew's going to create a line of play that allows him to win.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet.
And not only win once, but win back to back.
The big thing is he has to keep that off the table. He's got to keep that Seismic Assault off the table. He is never going to beat that card. The only chance he has against that is that, for whatever reason, Nathan overextends and he's able to hit him with a Tormod script.
And I mean, you got to figure Nathan Zamora anticipates Tormod's Crypt as a sideboard card.
Yeah, yeah.
And if so, he's going to know how to play around it. He's going to know what to do. But
we'll see if Matthew Duggan has to come out. He has to come out screaming. He cannot have a slow game. He just is not going to be able to stand long term against Punishing Fire. All of his creatures die immediately to Punishing Fire.
Yep.
He needs to get Quirion Dryad above 2 toughness immediately. He really has to get a early Dryad and probably turn 3 so he can have some sort of counter backup, or 2 if he can have a counter backup.
Sure.
And something like a Force of Will, get up to 3, get up to 4, get up to 5, and hope that is fast enough to beat Nathan Zamora.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a good game, I'm sure, but it's going to be tough.
It is going to be uphill, that's for sure.
Looks like the players are presenting. Should see the opening hands soon. I got to believe Matthew Duggan's on the play here.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody choose draw in Legacy.
I have chosen draw in Legacy.
What were you playing?
I was playing Dredge, and
fair enough.
Sometimes you choose the draw.
Yeah, if your opponent in the Mental Misstep era, you did choose draw because you could actually get beaten like that. So Matthew Duggan leads off in the Misty Rainforest, sacrifices it, takes a point, and is going to get a basic island.
All right.
Which probably leads me to leading off with either Delver or our Ancestral Visions. Either one is fairly good for him.
Yep.
Delver.
And there's the Delver.
And he looks to be over 50% to actually flip Delver. That's incredibly high.
Let me do some math real quick. 10, 14, 18. If Matthew kept all of the potential instants in his deck, he's looking at something like 18, 22 cards that could turn on Delver. He's got the 4 lightning bolts, 2. Actually, I'm sorry.
8,
no,
12,
I can't
13,
math
14.
at all.
Okay. Oh, and he's Brainstorms. Flips a Brainstorm with it.
Seems fine.
Nathan Zamora has a Pyroblast. Now, assuming that Matthew Duggan doesn't have a Daze, that is going to take out that Insectile Aberration.
Basically, to sum up, folks, the percentage of Matthew Duggan's deck that flips Delver is some good. That is how I would explain that.
So that, Matthew, he needs to get those creatures in, to get some damage in early so that his burn can do the rest of the work. The higher Nathan's life total is, the harder and harder it is for him to actually win the match.
It just seems...
he has no follow-up. Oh boy.
That's
Wasteland from Nathan. Again, Matthew has no real ways. If for instance, if he casts Quirion Dryad right here, then Wasteland gets to take out his 1 land. 2 Wastelands from Nathan.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I guess Matthew Duggan gets... He has 2 islands in his deck.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, he does get a Ponder. And it looks like he's shuffling. No lands in those in that Ponder. This is not looking good for him. Now, on the other hand, Nathan Zamora doesn't have much colored mana.
No, I mean... He's not going to be able to do anything with Dark Confidant. Terravore is firmly off the table. Your Seismic Assault, absolutely not.
Yeah, all those are
Maelstrom
still dead.
Pulse, nope.
And a Tormod script from Matthew Duncan, so he is protecting himself from any shenanigans with Life from the Loam. But out comes Tarmogoyf.
It's cool. IDK, my BFF Goyf.
Yep, now, let's see, the cards... The cards in Matthew Duggan's graveyard are a land, a creature,
and a sorcery.
Which means that
and
it is
instant.
Which means that even with the Tormod's Crypt, he is well above lightning bolt range.
Right.
And Force
It's
of
gonna
Will
get forced
takes
out.
down a Tarmogoyf.
In possibly the biggest surprise I've seen all day.
Ooh, Volrath
Stronghold.
This is particularly good.
I like that card a
That
lot.
means that he really gets to sort of go through as much of his deck as he wants to go through, and can keep getting threats back.
But we see a hand for Nathan Zamora that's fairly greedy for the mana base he's got.
He does not have any ways. He's got a triple red card. He has Life from the Loam. Not a lot of ways to actually cast his spells. All these colorless lands. And it looks like he drew. It's hard to tell.
I think it's a Forgotten Cave. Yep.
Cycle's Forgotten Cave.
Sure.
And he draws.
Hopefully.
Looked like another land. It looked like a Tranquil Ticket, but it could be wrong. He's shuffling his cards largely off screen. Matt Duggan still has nothing. Life from the Loam.
Yep, Life from the Loam to bring back
Forgotten Cave. He's like, hey, you got that
Tormod's Crypt?
Yeah, Tormod's Crypt. Go for it.
Be my guest.
I only got one. I can handle it.
Interesting to note about Quirion Dryad, Sam. Its trigger is not optional.
Oh, interesting.
It is not a May. So
all those old time cards did weird things like that.
Yup. So when you're talking about, all right, you've got the advantage now, just don't misclick. That's a pretty big.
You can misclick there.
You can definitely misclick there.
Yep. And there goes the
Crypt
graveyard.
is going to get it, and there's another
second Crypt. He is trying to keep Nathan off of anything relevant, and so far he's done a good job of it.
How lucky.
Nathan is going to cycle one more Forgotten Cave, looking for a way to start casting his spells.
I hear casting spells is good.
A second Punishing, Grove of the Burning Willows.
Yep.
Comes out.
So Matthew Duggan on one land is. It looks like he's sort of in the lead at this point.
In a way. Now Nathan wants to get a black source of that Confidant.
I think he would be okay with that.
Nathan is going to be drawing a lot of cards soon, and unfortunately, though, with only one land in play, he's going to be discarding most of those cards.
Yes. So we see Nathan's more draw for the turn.
That was a Mox Simon, I believe.
Sounds right. And if you're Matthew Duggan here, you've got 3 Ancestral Visions, which at this point, yes, is plural. You're going to be drawing all the cards. We see Terravor for Nathan Zamora.
Yeah, it counts both graveyards, so even if you get Tormod's Crypt, it's at least a 1/1.
Yup. Looks like we have 1 land for Matthew Duggan's graveyard, 1 land for Nathan Zamora's. And Nathan could also, if he decides to, wasteland my wasteland.
He could, to keep it alive, just in case
up.
there was a lightning bolt or something that might risk killing it. Matthew's going to draw a lot of cards, but he needs something. He needs to be able to kill this Terravor very soon. Things are going to get real ugly.
It's just a matter of the wastelands literally pinning cards to Matthew Duggan's hand.
Yeah.
He can't run them out for fear of getting locked. He's finally going to drop a Scalding Tarn.
And Scalding Tarn's going to grow Terravor one more.
What does Matthew really have on Terravor at this point? Bolt isn't going to get him there. Chain isn't going to get him there.
Well, if he has, he can bolt it and then wasteland, or then Tormod's Crypt, Nathan's graveyard, and that will kill it. Because even with those other wastelands, it'll only end up being 2 toughness. But I think Nathan's obviously can't do that. That's fine. I don't know.
But with 2 islands, the only 2 islands in Matthew Duggan's deck.
Yep, he's got no way to stop that Terravor. It's going to start coming through.
You see, all right, Snapcaster to buy.
Maybe Taxium Probe?
Maybe. Maybe just to block. Nope, probe you again.
Get an idea of what's in his hand, and let's see what is in his hand. Confidant,
Eat
Fire
it.
Blast, Maelstrom Pulse, Mox Diamond, and a Seismic Assault.
Those. Wow, how many cards was that?
I believe it was 7.
Okay. I can't math very good, but I'll take your word for it. So
Yep.
we're gonna see Nathan Zamora draw for the turn, and looks like something that got shuffled away. So
He's going to come in.
swing with a big old Terror.
Matthew is, imagine he just takes that. How much else he can do at this point?
No, I mean, throwing Snapcaster would be an option, but certainly not a
he discards
great
Maelstrom
one.
Pulse.
Yep,
Nathan Zamora choked on lands, choked on the lack of lands.
just completely pinned down.
And he has all these lands in play. They just don't add black. He needs one more
Yeah.
red. It's a deck that needs to draw a lot of lands, and he's just not doing it.
It's
The matchup is just so good though for him that despite that,
yeah.
it's just it seems almost delaying the inevitable.
It really is tough. It's tough to look at a matchup that you know is going to be bad for you and try to find a line of play that might
Right.
provide you even an incrementally useful advantage.
Matthew, he knows what he needs to do here. He's attacking Nathan down to 18. He knows that the burn is how he's going to win this game.
Yep.
And so we'll see what he does here. Does he lightning bolt the Terravor and then sack the Tormund Script?
Entirely possible.
That would kill Terravor, and again, Nathan doesn't really have anything to stop that. Doesn't really have a way to deal with Snapcaster.
The one card I think we may have overlooked in Matthew's sideboard was Grim Lavamancer.
Oh, that's
that
true.
could be relevant. Maybe
Might have brought those in. It's just another card, though. I'm not sure. I mean, it dies to everything in Nathan's deck. So I
right,
don't know.
but
But
it
it might
does give him a little bit of length.
It does give him more length. Yep, Lightning Bolt,
Bolts.
which might just kill it. I can't see what is in Nathan's graveyard.
Nathan's graveyard, I believe, was simply Forgotten Cave and Maelstrom Pulse. Matthew Duggan has a Scalding Tarn and a Misty Rainforest in his graveyard as well, I believe.
Right, so I guess maybe it's just right. Just is 3 right now.
Stupid Wasteland Tricks would get there,
Yeah.
but
It must be a 3/4 because it's still in the play. And now he's looking at using his Tormund Script.
yep.
Maybe asking the judge about the timing just to make sure he gets it right.
Yep, that actually no, the Wasteland won't actually save.
Right, it can't save it.
The
I think
Terravor
he's just
here.
making sure that
Yep.
Nathan can't somehow do that.
Oh, but wouldn't that be nice?
It seems like that's what's going on.
So Matthew Duggan just will not let go of this game.
He's wasting him or crypting himself. It looks like.
Looks wow.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. I mean,
I guess he had to do it. I can't really see what's in Nathan's graveyard, unfortunately. But we're just making sure that
yep.
he had enough.
Seems.
Oh, and looks like he
Interesting.
had 2.
Yep.
I don't know why he didn't do that too. It looked like Matthew only had 2 lands or 3 lands in his graveyard. I don't know why he didn't just go after. Oh, no, yeah, because I thought he only had 2 lands. Maybe he had 3. I don't know.
At any rate,
In any case, that guy is dead.
play was made.
Yeah.
We're still
And
waiting
Nathan
for a
is
black
still
source for
looking
Nathan
at a way to deal with
Zamora.
Snapcaster, still looking at a way to deal with something. I mean, all he wants to do right now is just draw lands. The nice thing is that he gets to start life from loaming pretty soon. He'll need to discard it, but which I think he just discarded a Diabolic Edict. He needs to draw some lands. It's funny that this deck, which plays a lot of lands, that's what it's getting started on.
Let's see, 18. 25, 20, I'm counting 28 lands
28
for
lands.
Nathan Zamora.
And he just cannot get the colors he needs.
That just hurts. Yeah.
Out comes another volcanic island, and I think, yep, he's going to bolt Nathan. He knows what's going on. He has to, he's just got to put the pressure on while he has this window.
It's going to be interesting. I mean,
it is. This could be much closer than it looked like it was going to be. You know,
Nathan's got to draw a black or even a land at this point to stick mock time, and hopefully
black would be ideal.
Yep.
But any land will let him really just keep going with his deck.
So we're going to see what exactly from Nathan Zamora.
Looks like Matthew discards Daze and
Submerge.
a Submerge. And that looks like a Bayou.
So we're going to see... All right, so you're finally online for black.
That's what it looks like.
What do you do? Do you bob?
I don't think you want to bob here. That's, awkwardly enough, you don't want to bob here because, well, maybe you do. Again, because Matthew has, Nathan doesn't know exactly how many non-basics Matthew has, but we know he only has 3.
Right.
And he's already killed 2 volcanics. Only 1 left, which means theoretically you can only get, until Wasteland comes back, you can only get hit by 1 more lightning bolt.
So we do see Dark Confidant come down for Nathan Zamora. That was another pretty awesome Judge foil. Came out last year.
Nathan Zamora, I feel, made a big risk and played Mox Diamond as opposed to the Bayou. And Matthew did not force will it.
Now, Nathan Zamora does have Pyroblast.
He does.
In the grip.
So he may have been able, that might have been fine for him, but as Matthew Duggan, I probably would have tried to force will that and just keep him off it. Instead he force wills with Dark Confidant.
Reasonable, I suppose. So we're going to see Matthew Duggan
just keep ticking down that Snapcaster Mage.
He's got the bolt in his hand. He can't cast it.
He's only, he's not going to have a whole lot of bolts left in this game. If he has 2 in his hand, then he's probably going to attack and try and do it twice real quickly.
Right.
Plays out a Delver's Secrets. Nathan Zamora down to
draw for the
11,
turn,
I believe. Yep, he's got lots more game than he had last turn, but he needs to get that Seismic Assault online.
Seismic would be fantastic here.
Just to really take this, to take this game out of Matthew's hands, and he has just not been able to do it. He just can't get the lands for it.
So, for those of you just tuning in, we'd like to welcome you to the SCG Live coverage of the StarCityGames.com Legacy Open here in Dallas-Fort Worth. I'm Nicholas Sabin here with Sam Stoddard, and we are commenting on the Legacy Round 6 matchup between Matthew Duggan and Nathan Zamora. Nathan kind of choking on his, unequivocally choking on his mana base. His 28 land mana base.
28 lands, it's just not enough this game. He has a handful of spells that most of which he can't cast or are not useful. And he keeps looking through his opponents, through his, remove from game pile, figure out what's left.
Right.
Inquisition is cast. He wants to see, just what is in Matthew's hand at this point.
I don't know that I like Inquisition here. I think that I almost want to take the approach of my opponent probably has the counter magic, but if he has it, I lose. If he doesn't have it, I win.
Yeah, and it's a weird situation because Matthew's just up so many cards from those 3 Ancestral Visions.
Yep.
Or I guess 2, and he's about to pop a 3rd very soon. Inquisition's not, certainly not getting any card advantage. Maybe he just wants to see what's there and keep him off threats. He's at 11. He's about to go down to 9.
Sure.
It looks like he's going to get bolted right here.
Yep.
This is, as bad as the matchup looks for Matthew, he is really churning this deck out.
So, it's...
Now that is also his last Volcanic Island.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to see Nathan go to 8 here. And then what? Then do we see Another attempt to protect. Oh,
Submerge
and Misty Rainforest.
Yep, nothing there.
Oh.
So Nathan's going to go to 6. Oh, and the aberration flips. It is going to get pyroblasted. But Nathan is still going to go down to 4.
That's really rough.
Yeah, if he can't kill that that land next turn, he might just die to burn.
It is entirely possible and not the kind of endgame I really expected to see in this matchup.
No, not at all. This is one of those, how does he theoretically win? Well, he burns him out somehow. And now we're looking at,
throw it off the
how
boat.
Did he win? He burned him out. You know, we're not there yet. Oh, and this might be a turning point. He did get one more land.
Right. So Ancestral Vision resolves.
And is there any burn in those 3 cards? Any more creatures? Any more? Yeah, I mean, he just needs 2 spells. He needs, if he can play, like, say, 2 Delvers.
Yep.
Or a Delver and a burn spell right here. You know, that's pretty close. If Nathan can't answer that Delver, then he would die right there.
Right.
So I believe he will be able to, but
entirely likely. So we're going to see Matthew Duggan at 15 life to Nathan's 6, and there are a lot of cards here that just put Nathan's back to the wall. I mean, he's already on the back foot just by virtue of his life total.
Yep. Quarian Dryad.
Hey, Quarian Dryad.
What else does Matthew Duggan have to follow up with it? It's like there's Nathan's hand's almost empty.
So we're going to see...
He has a Maelstrom Pulse. He might have to pulse that Dryad.
Which seems kind of awkward, really, but...
he doesn't have a whole lot else to pulse, I guess.
True. Also true.
He just keeps going through his graveyard, trying to count out what the burn is, what spells he could have left.
Right, right.
You know, this is a game that he should have an amazing matchup in, and he knows how bad this game is right now.
Yeah, he's got to be... It almost, you know, we were talking last game about identifying a good line of play, even if it's not the best possible, and it doesn't seem like... I can't see what Nathan's line is right now.
It's
stay alive,
yeah. and get rid of that last red source.
Yep.
You know? Spell Pierce is going to get paid for.
Yep.
And if he has a second... Oh, and he has another Daze.
Oh.
All of a sudden, that Dryad up to 3. If he has 2 more spells, that is it for Nathan
This is going to be rough.
But it looks like he doesn't. Snapcatcher for Lightning Bolt.
There's the game, yep.
Matthew Duggan. Hard-fought match.
That was insane.
Very well played by him. It takes a matchup that it just looks on paper to be a nightmare, and he figured out the way through it.
That was incredible.
You know, it required Nathan Zamora to have a lot of problems in this game. He had to miss a lot of land drops. He had to, you know, just keep getting all these uncastable cards, but it was enough.
I'm not wearing a hat right now, folks, but if I was, I would take it off in Matthew Duggan's general direction. That was an incredibly well-played game.
He knew what had to be done, and he executed it. And, you know, there are games like that where, you know, you're in a bad matchup, and you say, you know, how do I win this? Well, his cards just destroy my creatures. And it's going to be really hard for him to win. But what I need to do is go for this one outcome and just go as far as I can. And if things, you know, break my way, I can win. And, you know, that game, they broke Matthew Duggan's way.
Now, the question that I would raise here, Sam, is Nathan was never really in a good place in this game.
No.
He wasn't ever ahead. And is it possible that maybe he should have scooped earlier?
You know, that's a hard match to scoop because up until the last few turns, I mean, anything that Nathan draws is going to put him on the top and is going to let him win the game. I mean, if he draws a Life from the Loam in those last few turns of that game, you know,
yeah, that's
right back
true.
into his favor. He gets to play the Loam. He gets to start going crazy with it.
Right, that is fair.
So it's hard for him to scoop that up, and I don't know how much time we have left.
However much we do have, it's likely not in Nathan Zamora's favor.
No, yeah.
He takes a lot longer to set up.
I agree. If we have under 15 minutes left, this they're going to play pretty quickly this game, or they might get an unintentional draw.
And at this point, you really don't want that. You really don't want to be drawing here. It cuts off your options later in the tournament when
I agree.
You might want to ID.
15 minutes left, so they're going to have to keep the pace up on this one. No slacking.
This will be tough. No counting your opponent's graveyard 20 times.
Right. People don't always really check with that. They don't always go out of their way to figure out what the right pace of the game is, because different games have different paces, and sometimes you have to play at a pace you're uncomfortably fast, if you want to get through the match in a reasonable amount of time.
And it's hard because it's hard to tell exactly how much time is progressing when you're thinking through a line of play.
Right.
You're not thinking, okay, gosh, I've been pondering this attack for 30 seconds. You're not even there. You're so focused on making the correct play that you don't even notice.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a very hard skill that a lot of Magic players take a long time to learn. I know Nathan Zamora is. I've met him before. He's an old school, guy. Played in the Pro Tour before. So I know he's very experienced. So he probably has an idea about that. But let's see if he can, keep the pace of play up in this game and make sure that he has time to actually let his whole engine go through the motions, and not let something like a mistimed Tormod script or poorly timed Tormod script take him out of the game and this is a draw.
It definitely feels like Matthew Duggan can be comfortable operating under a short time frame. You stick a turn 1 Delver, turn 2 Quarian Dryad, and just go.
Yeah.
Just as hard as you can. And Nathan Zamora definitely needs more time to get his engines going. He's got a very powerful deck, but calling it fast would be
my biggest concern
incorrect.
Is really that I think that Matthew has a very hard time winning this match quickly. His creatures just die so quickly, so easily. Nathan's, I think that he might not be able to win in time for to stop a draw. But none of that is very much in his control. It's very much in Nathan's control. Nathan is the one who has all the spells that really matter, and Matthew has to play his best and try to counter the ones that matter and dodge the ones that he needs to dodge, and let the ones resolve that needs to. I think it's really Nathan's. I almost want to say it's Nathan's to lose here. Matthew just has to play his best and hope that Nathan gets a similar draw to last time.
So it looks like there are a few more lands in Nathan Zamora's hand this time around.
A lot more lands.
Yep.
But a turn 1 Delver. Matthew knows he needs to get damage in. That is goal number 1.
Land. Yeah. Into Nathan Zamora's turn 2.
So Nathan Zamora has a Badlands in play.
Yep.
He is trying to figure out what to play next.
We have about 12 minutes.
I believe he cycled the land last turn. He's got a Life from the Loam in his hand. He has a Grow the Burn Willows. All the ways to keep his engine going, but he might need to take some damage from that Delver.
And there's definitely a Chalice.
There is a Chalice. That Chalice for 1. I don't know if you run it out in today's option or you risk the Force
free
of Will.
counter or no?
We'll see.
Let's see.
That might just resolve.
I think that resolves.
I think it does. I think if no, he forces it.
Fooled you.
He must have been thinking on which card to force because you cannot let that card resolve. There's
not at all.
Too many Matthews cards on the cost of 1. Though it looks like the top card was not an instant, or he forgot to check. I don't know which.
I would be tripping all over myself to counter that Chalice.
Ancestral Visions.
Ancestral Visions seems fine.
And another land. Nathan Zamora down to 19. Let's see what else he has in his hand. A Wasteland.
All right. And
Dark
a Bob.
Confidant.
Okay.
If you're Matthew, I almost think you just like Dark Confidant and Resolve and hope that it helps you get there.
Yeah, I mean...
it's such a hard card to deal with. Checks his top card.
Yep.
Also, it is an instant. He's going to get in for at least 3 with that Insectile Aberration.
Yep. So you see Nathan Zamora going down to 16 life here. Possibly less.
Matthew
Dark
has
Confidant.
been, very mindful of his fetch lands. Never using them until he needs to get the red for that 1 turn.
Yep.
Keeping him up to keep Wasteland from getting too much value for Nathan.
And
a Tormod script.
Really? Flip for Wasteland seems good. And if you're Nathan Zamora, I mean, you're obviously not happy to see the Tormod script.
No, you're really not.
But
Punishing Fire. He's doing what he can.
That is a spicy meatball.
Yeah. He's making life real hard for Matthew Duggan.
I mean, I don't know, Sam. Is it worth just straight trading Crypt for Punishing Fire at this point? Do you want to be that aggressive on it, or?
I think you have to be. I don't think you have much of an option.
So we see Nathan Zamora's hand of Verdant Catacomb, Tranquil Thicket, Wasteland, Tarmogoyf.
Yep. He gets to run a Tarmogoyf out pretty soon. He wants to play around Days, but next turn, I bet you that thing's coming out. He also wants to keep one back so he can return Punishing Fire if Tormod script fires.
Absolutely.
You know, that card in this matchup, once again, kills everything. Quirion Dryad is the best way around it, and you know you can get around it, but you're going to have to cast several spells in a row.
3 Ancestral Visions from Matthew Duggan.
Which he's gotten pretty much every game. He has just drawn so many cards off that card.
Terravor for Nathan Zamora.
Down to 13.
Yup. Now, to be fair, I think that's probably the most expensive.
It is.
He
has a few 3s. He has Seismic Assault, and he has Maelstrom Pulse, and he has Terravor. Not a whole lot. So, I mean, I'm not too worried for him just yet. Especially if he gets to probably play a Tarmogoyf out here. He thought about using that. He does not want to use, if he can help it, he does not want to use the Grove to get that back. Though he can add a green, get the Punishing Fire back with that,
with the
red.
Life
gain, the red, and still play Tarmogoyf.
Yes, Matthew, that does work the way you hoped it doesn't.
Yeah, it's a real rare card. And
so now we're going to see the Tarmogoyf come down for Nathan Zamora. Talk about tough interactions.
Yeah.
And there's the Goyf, which I'm seeing artifact, land, instant, creature.
4/5 it looks
so
like.
4/5. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's
I don't know.
Really putting the pressure on Matthew this game.
Verdant Catacombs for Nathan Zamora, so we could see Terravor next turn.
See, I feel maybe he just sacks that fetch land and gets a forest. But maybe he just didn't think that the Punishing Fire was all that important right now.
Perhaps not. But we're going to see Matthew Duggan. He's got blue fetch. Runs out Delver. And Nathan Zamora definitely ahead on the creature front.
Yep, needs to hit something.
Mox Diamond seems fine.
Takes 0. It's a
5/6. Is now a
5/6.
Oof.
Instant
land, sorcery, creature. Oh yeah, sorcery. Yep.
Sorcery? Oh, Gitaxian Probe.
Yep, Gitaxian Probe is definitely a sorcery card. Smash. So we have 7 points of damage headed toward Matthew Duggan's face.
I mean, you can block the Bob or you can take it. Those are your only options. And at this point, man, I don't know. You might just have to block that Bob there. Maybe you can draw Submerge off of this, off of one of these Ancestral Visions that comes off. Hopefully in response to Nathan's shuffling something or dredging, or in response to dredging with shuffling something.
Right.
And down comes Terravor.
There's Terravor.
So
it looks like Matthew Duggan did not block.
He wants to hit and
That's
draw
greedy.
some burn. Maybe have the Dark Confidant flip something big. You know, if he flips here.
Ooh. Except he's not going to flip.
Yep.
He's going to draw some cards.
But if he had flipped, he can hit Nathan down to 10. Terravor's a 2/2.
Yep.
You could have hit Nathan down to 10. And then if you had a bolt, that's 7. If Nathan hits a 3, that's 4. He's not quite there, but maybe he is just enough. He can throw some chump blockers up.
perhaps, but it's not looking good for Matthew Duggan right now.
He really needed to flip right there. That seems to me like that was his only shot. Terravor is going to go up to a 3/3.
Yep, and it's going to get bolted most likely.
And he has two wastelands. So well, if he bolts it, then he's just going to wasteland.
So,
or he's going to sack his fetch land. So Terravor, even though it's 3/3, it can get as big as a 6/6.
Terravor is going to get big real quick.
Actually can get as big as 8/8, but that requires Nathan basically destroying all of his own lands.
Yep. So we see Quirion Dryad.
Yep.
All right, seems good.
He's going to try to get this big enough to survive something on the attack.
Time is still dwindling in this round. Nathan Zamora going to 11.
Might have actually called time, but
flipping Bob for Bob.
I don't know if they have an extension or not. We'll find out soon enough.
I don't know. I mean,
did the players leave enough time to actually finish the match? 4:30.
Yep, we're at 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
And I can't lie, Sam. I really like Nathan Zamora's board position right here.
So you're going to take the controversial opinion that Nathan Zamora will probably win this game?
You know, I'm okay being wrong.
As long as you're okay with it.
My public statements, I think, bear that out. See Commander Tower. But this... Okay, so we're seeing a big old Tarmogoyf, a Terravor, a Bob, against a pair of 1/1s.
Yep. Now we can cast some spells. If he has a Submerge here, actually, it's pretty good. I think what he needs to hope for is that Nathan will crack that fetch land, and as he does, he's going to play Submerge on the Terravor, get that just out of the way.
Right. And
we'll
actually,
see if Nathan decides to go for it.
He can't free roll Submerge at this point, can he?
Oh no, he needs
Nathan doesn't have
a
Nathan doesn't have a forest.
You're right.
So Submerge is a blank right now. Go ahead and crack that.
Yep, there's the handshake.
Game.
Yep.
That was a heck of a matchup.
It was.
Wow.
Considering how bad the matchup was, Matthew Duggan, he just really played his heart out. He knew what he had to do. And he got as close as he possibly could to winning that game.